Welcome to another week of Radio Melee. It's Tuesday again here on the internet and everywhere, I guess. And we got Chem. Chem had a phenomenal performance. We're both, I think, me and PP are both congratulating you, if I can speak for my co-host here, on your run at the Function 2, Function 3,
Function 3.
Function 3. It's been so many functions. Yeah, PP, I think you were saying you looked at Chem's bracket right before this. Talk about some of the people Chem beat.
Yeah,
I saw the hacks win. I saw the slug win.
Yeah, so actually, I think the hacks win is especially cool because Chem actually lost to hacks outside of top 8, and then he went on. He had a solid run afterward. He took it over Slug and Fiction Chic before beating hacks again. And I think there were some other names in there too, but I think those were the standouts to me. And so I think that's really good, really cementing someone who I think we're going to be talking a lot more about. I mean, even after the summer rank, I mean, you got ranked 28th, you jumped up 38 spots, which is a lot of spots, means you're clearly doing something right. You're clearly going fast. I don't think, and you're not slowing down after this last weekend. So I think now is a wonderful time to have you on. And I think, what's your secret? I think maybe that's something people might be, interested in. Maybe people were like, I want to get better. I don't know how. And then this guy's like, he's beating everyone. He's getting better super fast. What's he doing? What's his secret?
I don't know if I quite have a secret. I definitely, I actually had to take off the semester. And that definitely helped a lot. I've been practicing a little bit more. So I guess play more. But I have philosophies and stuff like that. I definitely believe in no shortcuts kind of thing. Do what you can to improve and not focus on results. So I guess that's kind of helped me out to really improve. And I guess that's one of the main ones. Another one also, I think commuting is really hard. And if you're traveling the country, some people are traveling the world, which I have not done yet. Focusing on eating when you usually eat and in general eating. And I even bring my own pillow to majors, so that definitely helps a lot.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, focusing on
Are you talking about a Zane pillow that you bring with you to the event, or just for sleeping purposes?
For sleeping. I'm a light sleeper. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I forgot about that one. That's so funny that he does that. And Zam took suit, so it's not working for some people apparently.
Huh. That's
you gotta do
pillow meta. New pillow meta dropped.
Yeah.
Not just for your hands, but for your head too at night. So that's and I really like that you're talking about not just these things in the game, but you're talking about these tournament skills, these out of the game skills, which because I think it all kind of matters, right? You're talking about managing your time. Was there anything that you felt? Well, I guess with your time off, maybe. Actually, no, let's ask this. Maybe there are a lot of students out there listening, and they're like, okay, well, he had to take his time off. Well, I can't do that. Well, you were still improving a whole lot while you were in school, right? So how did you manage your time so well to be able to still grow at a great rate and still doing okay in school? I assume. I don't want to speak for you.
Yeah, I don't act like me taking the break off was actually what got me better. I actually think it let me go to tournaments more. I actually probably went to I think I went to 2 majors last year and a couple of regionals, and I was also getting, accustomed to going to tournaments in general. And like I said, preparing, it was a new thing for me, right? And I was a little disappointed with some of my major performances. I just wish I had gotten better sleep, ate exactly when I needed to, and stuff like that. But for getting better, wait, what's your question exactly?
How are you managing your time when you were in school?
Oh yeah, so for me, I do I don't actually play too much, I would say. I definitely play a good bit, and you have to play a lot. But I think when you have time to yourself, I think thinking about the game is one of my favorite things to do because the game is just it's so interesting, and I think there's once you accomplish some of your tech skill goals, it's the next step is to focus on the neutral and sometimes getting stuff that you have not thought about, like a punish that you may not realize exists beforehand, right? So I think for me, taking the time to even think about it, even when you have the ability to play, that kind of thing, and when you don't have the ability to play, that's all you can really do. So just focusing on that is really helpful personally.
Yeah, I know a lot of players who I feel like this is a really big part of getting good. And it's on multiple levels. I think there's a lot to be said about even if you can't practice, sometimes. Even like thinking about how to do certain things. Like I think there's some studies that show that it's like not almost as good, but it's like kind of comparatively like it's somewhere along. There's some spectrum of like actually physically practicing something, but also thinking about how to do it and kind of visualizing yourself do it actually does like kind of go a significant part of the way. And obviously people, if you know, if you're like busy and you've got other things going on, I think thinking about the game a lot. This is something I remember like a lot of people talking about, like people who get really good at things, like both in Melee and outside of it. Like I remember Mango used to talk about how he thought about Melee nonstop, and I think that I know a lot of other gamers from a lot of other video games who like whatever they're getting really good at, it's like kind of all they think about.
Yeah.
Thinking about like I remember in college there was this guy who came to the U.S. from Korea, and he was winning all these Guilty Gear tournaments, and he was saying that he really could only play on the weekends, but he would and he really tried to only play on the weekends because he was too busy with school, but during the week, but he would like be thinking about it, so he would kind of get his reps in at least mentally, and then he would have all these things that he'd want to work on or whatever when he actually got a chance to play.
You know what's interesting about that is I think actually because like certain players may not be able to play
Mhm.
during like whether they have school, work, whatever they have. I think some people who do have that time end up doing better than some people who have more free time because they end up just playing more often. And because they're not forced to take the second to like think about the game, they end up not
Mhm.
improving at like a rate that would be better if they had just like had less time to play. As funny as that sounds, you know. So I think
Because
there's a lot of benefits.
they tunnel vision on, not tunnel vision maybe, but yeah, they get too autopilot maybe.
Yeah, they just play too much, and like not that playing too much is bad, but like let's say you need a second to think about the game and you never do that, like that can hurt your improvement, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And
totally.
and you're bringing up, I want to kind of take this a slightly different angle. And I think, when I was looking over your Twitter before we started, Chem, I was noticing, how you were pretty positive about the game. You were pretty open to like learning things and all of that. And I think, you're imagining of the game, you're thinking about it a lot. Is you're, in a certain way, you're thinking, what else is possible with the game? What else is there out there? What else could I learn? And instead of thinking, I just have to do this and I've got to grind this out and whatever, which I think is becoming, a pretty popular way to think about the game, at least in certain circles. But I think having that curiosity, especially as you improve, I think it's such a great driver of growth, flexibility, enjoyment with the game, which you're really going to need, especially if you want to keep putting time into it, right? So I like that angle of it too. So I think that's really healthy as well. And people that are playing all the time may not have that, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. Even things like I think some resources are becoming popular, like Uncle Punch. And I was actually just
Mhm.
talking about this, so I do want to mention it. I think some people are actually starting to use Uncle Punch a little too much, even.
Oh, can you
For
explain
me,
that?
so for me, I started in 2017, 2016, and
Okay.
20XX existed, right? That was like the main thing.
It had
I
like
think.
just come out, more or
Oh,
less.
really? Is it? I don't
Oh,
remember. It's
I don't
funny
know.
'cause
I probably.
that's funny. I don't remember exactly, but I think for me, like 20XX came out, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna use that. And I'm like, when I do my punishes, I noticed like, okay, well, I can do my punishes like out of the standstill. I can up smash, go for the tech chase, I'll fall, like get the combos and whatever. But when you
Mhm.
do Uncle Punch, or when you, well, first of all, when you do a combo normally, it's like you're gonna have to hit someone first. So you're gonna get the nair. I'm gonna like hit them, and I don't know where exactly where they're gonna be when I hit that nair because I'll move right before it, and then I have to get the combo. When you do Uncle Punch, you're mainly forced to practice it when they're standing still, when you do the combo training, right?
Oh.
Right.
And I think because they're only using that, some players may not be accustomed to like comboing off of a hit in a normal game, you know? And that's like
Mhm.
some benefit I got out of like playing 20XX. As funny as it is, like old school stuff, it's a lot, it's pretty helpful, you know? It's
So
good.
the benefit in 20XX was that the CPU was also moving around more?
Exactly. Like, 20XX, the best thing compared to like a normal ISO is that they like move and they also DI, right? For combo training and Uncle Punch, exactly. It's like they don't move, but they do have the DI, and people like that because it forces you to do true combos, which is helpful in its own right.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
But you're not
Mhm.
gonna get that aspect where you're not gonna get them standing still in a normal game, right? That's like the main practice, right?
No,
And
it's true.
One more thing also.
That's kind of how
Yeah.
you know, like even the stereotype of how Armada used to practice, where he would just beat up the CPU over and over.
Oh yeah, the Falcon, the
Yeah,
poor
that poor
Falcon that kept
Falcon,
getting
that
back
poor
here
Falcon.
yeah,
and then edge guarded.
exactly.
Sometimes. I love watching those videos.
You were gonna say one more thing?
I forgot exactly what I'm gonna say. I'm kind of sad about that. But
Okay.
I think it's really helpful, honestly, to just like use 20XX and it's just you get to hit a moving opponent. That's what you need. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that I know, again, I was also, again, like I said, on your Twitter recently. I know you do coaching, so this must be something you've told people before, I imagine it sounds like.
Mm.
I've probably told a few people, but I think it's hard to be like, if it's not gonna come up, it's hard to talk about. You know, that's like the hard thing about
You don't want to
coaching.
you don't want to confront them with their demons like that,
Exactly.
I see.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, I wonder. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think that's like a really important skill in Melee is kind of snapping into and out of your punish game sequences. And I think it's like something that certain characters have to think about more than others. And like, I don't know. I guess what I mean by that is like there's certain players that are really really loose in freeform, and I think these are people at incredibly high level who, for example, they're like so good at being freeform that sometimes I see them get a grab on like, let's say they get a grab on FD, and I'm like, oh, well now you can go for your chain grab, but they're like so in the moment, they're still like almost playing neutral in their head that they like go for some way more complicated punish instead of realizing like, oh, I can just do the uncle punch thing now. Like I can like slow down and just do a chain grab that I've practiced a million times. And then on the flip side, some people have a hard time kind of snapping into it where, like you said, I think that there's certain situations where their punish game is really good because they've practiced it a lot. But otherwise, they have a hard time kind of flowing from winning neutral and hitting a moving opponent into that. And I think that's a pretty high level skill, honestly. I think a lot of people are better at one or the other, like
Yeah.
even up to like the top 10 level.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest with you, this is something people. I remember there was a week we were talking about this was Spark.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
remember, and I was kind of noting that like Spark, when I watch him play, if he gets a grab, he's really good at telling himself like, okay, time to reaction tech chase, and he'll like get a lot of kills. He'll
Yeah.
just get a grab and get a kill, and that's
Yeah.
pretty common. But a lot of times he gets a knockdown off of like a stray hit, like a forward tilt or a dash attack, and I'm like, you could actually just stop and turn this into a tech chase, and you could probably get a kill. But
Yeah.
usually a lot of the time I'll see him if he's like, especially if he's playing a really strong fox, like someone who's kind of like pushing him to the limit. He's somebody, and I just think it's like, I'm not saying he's the only person. I'm not like singling him out. I just think it's easy to
Right.
talk about this with Sheik because it's so obvious with Sheik,
Right.
where he'll get a knockdown with forward tilt or something. And I'm like, okay, you can tech chase now. And he like doesn't. And he kind of makes it more complicated than it needs to be. I think this applies to a lot of top players actually. So I think that is a skill that people even up to a very high level, or like,
Oh, yeah.
it's very hard and it's hard in Melee. I think
Yes.
it's this internal battle.
Yeah, making that there's so much, cognitive, load. There's so much that you're thinking about when you're
Yeah.
playing to make that switch from neutral punch. Like you're trying so hard, like, he's because maybe this opponent's got you in like, 7 layers of a mix up and you're
Yeah.
just trying to play that. And it's like if you're thinking about your punish, then you're, maybe not accounting for some layers. And so then you got to make the switch and you're like, "Ugh," and the truck's turning really wide. So we don't we don't quite make the turn. And so sometimes, it looks silly. It'll be like, oh, this really good player like can't do like a basic punish, and that they look silly. But the reality of the situation is, maybe with the pressure of playing, and maybe there are some concerns about results and things that can creep in. But then you also have, someone that's playing their A game, and they're really pushing you to think about a lot. And then you have that moment, and it just all adds up. And I'm sure you're very aware of this yourself, Cam. And I would suspect anyway.
Yeah, I completely think so. I think like right now, I think it's not as big of an issue because a lot of us did grow up with Uncle Punch. I feel like, or not Uncle Punch, 20XX. I don't know if people still use it as much as they used to, but I think for this next generation, like the Slippy era, it's gonna be like a completely different thing. I am someone who came up with like delay based, and I played net play, but it's still but 20XX was still like the thing, and then Uncle Punch, I think 2018 maybe became a thing. Maybe it was 2019. I don't remember the dates. But like this next generation is gonna have a completely different like skill set almost. They're gonna be better at certain things and worse at others, and it's gonna be actually really interesting because some of them are already pretty good. Honestly, I play with people on ranked, and it's interesting because some of them are just better at like things that took me many years to get better, and I assume other players too. And it'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah, those tools really do, I think, change everything almost in a way that we talk about this in a larger sense where Slippy can make it so that there are less coastal play styles now. Everyone's intermingling more. So there's more things that are shared across, borders, world, whatever. And so I think there's a lot of cool things like that coming up. And it's good to hear about that again from your perspective as someone that's a little bit newer than some of the players that we're having on. So that's always really cool. And I wanted to come back to your function run really quickly just to see if there was anything that stood out to you from it. If you thought it was an interesting performance. I know you had other close sets that didn't quite go your way as well, that were cool. But I mean, especially losing to Hacks and then beating him back, right? That's some people get kind of rattled by that, or they think they lose once and they're like, okay, I definitely can't beat this person, or they get double limbed. So how was your experience at Function, and how did both the hack sets feel for you? Was there anything else that really stood out in that tournament, in your opinion?
The hack set, me and him go back and forth.
Mm.
So like in my heart, I knew like I could definitely do it. I just gotta like, hit the things I need to. The first set was a little rough. I like SC'd like 4 times, I think, legitimately, where like I missed 2 ledge dashes. I fared off stage and he shined me because I was going for a JT grab. So in my heart, I knew I definitely could have done it. I had, besides that though, I had some tough like matches. I think I actually got 2 pretty underrated players. I had I don't know if you know about 404 Craig.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
He's a
I saw it.
very good player.
That was close. I believe I also
Yeah.
saw on Start GG.
I
Yeah,
actually,
fun.
I have to admit, I kind of mix you two up.
Really? That's
I
funny.
learned.
He's
I think I learned about you two at the same tournament. There was like a tournament where you both did good a couple years ago, and I was like, okay, they both play Spacies. They both start with letter C. They're 4 letters.
Wait, 404 Craig? Oh,
Well, Cray and
Craig.
Chem.
Okay, yeah.
And
Fair
I was
enough.
like, I'm not gonna be able to. At least with you now, I know what you look like. But with Cray, I don't actually think I know what Cray looks like. But I do see Cray in Twitch chat sometimes. Anyway, yeah, Cray. Cray's a really cool player for sure.
Yeah, Arthur, or 404 Craig, sorry. I think he's someone who will eventually get really, really good. I think he's a weird one where it's like, at least for me, and I think some other players, like they get those few wins that like, they're known for, but they don't have everything complete in one tournament, or just in general, just like being capable against every matchup that they need to be good in. He's someone I think with some time. Also Kevin Maples, I wanted to also talk about him. He's very good.
That was a good set as well.
Yeah, he's pretty good, honestly. But Arthur in particular, I think, well, both of them. I'm not saying Kevin won't be good, but Arthur I think is someone. 4-4 Craig will be someone I think to watch out for. So I'm happy I took the set because I played him in friendlies, and sometimes he makes me feel like, oh shit, like if I play him in bracket, I'm gonna have a really really scary time. And he's like ranked a little below me, so like I'm expected to beat him, but like I play him and I'm like, this guy's good,
Yeah,
he's really really good.
Seed versus reality.
What'd you say?
The seed versus what it can how the matchup can actually go, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. And he's just a good player. I think once he gets it all together, he doesn't go to too much, but like top 50, I think he is like capable right at this very second. And who knows for the future, right?
Yeah, Toph, it's kind of interesting. I'm listening to Chem talk, and it's kind of reminding me a little bit of Ossify last week. There's this enthusiasm, there's this shouting out of other players. I think that's a really fun thing. That's a really good sign for Melee, right? That we have up and coming players that are so excited for the game and really wanting to lift up other players with them. So I don't know, just want to take a second to appreciate, you have this moment to talk about you, and you're talking about all these other players as well. I think that's just a really cool thing.
And I should also ask, is Cray also from the same region you're from, loosely or no?
Loosely. He's tri-state. I'm technically tri-state. I'm in Long Island though, so it gets a little weird. I don't know if you know where that is.
Got it.
It's like in New York. But
Yeah,
he's New Jersey. So we actually played like actually no, we didn't play, but we were at the same tournament literally the week or two prior. Right. I was scared to play him, but someone knocked him out early. Mont Money, if you know who he is.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
You are, however, from the same region, and this is something I guess we should talk about a little bit before getting into the questions for the week. You mentioned that you thought it was pretty interesting. So Slug is somebody who's from the exact same region as you, and also somebody who I guess you've played a good bit.
And you
So
played last weekend.
yeah, where I played beat him at Function. We actually went to the same college together.
Ah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was Philadelphia for many years.
Yeah.
4 years to be exact. And I'd go to the local, and he'd be someone I played against, and he'd kind of beat my ass. I don't know if I could say that.
You could
He
say it.
beat me. He beat my ass for a long time without wobbling. So he's like 12-1 before Function, and it's like before then, especially this was pre-COVID. He would beat me without wobbling too. And this was before like that was like a norm, right? He was beating. He didn't even have a major tournament. I'm like, this guy's beating me so bad without wobbling, and I'm like, how is this even possible? I thought wobbling is like the only reason ICs have a chance even. But so yeah, I played him for the first time after COVID, and I got my chance to beat him. And I mean, he's a little rusty, but I'm really happy I got the win because in my heart, like he's always been a player. I haven't really beaten except the one time at like this random monthly where I only had one set to work with he only had one set to work with in Grand. And I don't think he played particularly great. So I'm really happy I got my chance and I beat him, right? So that's all
Wow.
you can really ask for, right?
Yeah, you were saying before the show, I think I misunderstood you because I think you said 12-1. I thought you meant it was 12-1 in your favor.
No.
Okay. Damn. Yeah, wow. Yeah, I was just thinking, maybe I was just thinking because of like people like, somehow our producer Quinn brought up Chudat. I was thinking of players like that. Like there's these like I feel like there's a lot of regions where there's like a Fox player and an Ices player. And like just because they play a lot, like the Fox player beats the Ices player a lot. But I guess Slug is just different. I'm thinking of people like, like I remember Milkman used to have a really good record against Chudat and things like that. But yeah, that's really quite impressive. Slug, I mean, I guess like, he was kind of did he start playing before you, or were you guys kind of the same general era?
So knowing him, he told me he's a dog kid, so like 2013 is when he
Oh, okay.
started.
Got it.
So many years
Got
before
it.
me.
So he had a little bit of time on you. Yeah, that
He
makes
had a head
sense.
start.
He had a head
Yeah.
start. But he was
We
somebody who you
actually-
felt like you probably felt like, oh, this guy's results like because you were playing him a lot. You're like, damn, this guy's really good, but he wasn't really known on the national level yet, I guess, back then. So you kind of predicted that one probably.
Yeah. I remember just like, so he had his first breakout tournament at Genesis. I don't remember exactly, maybe the 2019 one. I think it was 8.
Yeah.
I played him and I'm like, if this guy doesn't do well, like I must be the worst player in the world because he's beating my ass so bad and I can't take a set yet, especially at that point. And he got 17th. I'm like, this guy, I thought he was legit,
I didn't know that.
but I never was proved that. He never proved that. Oh, he never proved that on a national, thing. But he was beating me without wobbling,
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up that bracket actually. That's really I didn't even realize he I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really know that much about Slug until probably like COVID proper. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty
for me.
Oh, I guess Genesis 2019?
If you remember,
Man, that might have been Genesis 6.
Was it really? Wow.
I think Genesis 7 was 2020. So maybe it was that one. I'm trying to find it.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
he had a very close set with Cody, I think at Pound that year, or maybe not Pound. Where I remember Fiction made the tweet where he was like, "Random ices." This was with wobbling, but he was like,
that was the
ices,
first
you never
time.
know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And that's like I didn't know that happened when I played him, but like I'm like, who's this ices? I came to. It's funny because I came out of came to college and I'm like 18 and like I don't know. I've never been to a region outside of my own, and even then I only played net play, and he was just like, I mean, I said I'm gonna keep saying it. He beat me really bad. I'm like, damn, like I never heard this guy. He's beating me so bad, right? It's like it's incredible. There's a lot of players out there,
Yeah, that is really. It was really quite impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, Genesis 9. Wow, he did get 17th at that. Damn, I gotta see. I wish they made it easier to see who someone beaten They lost. So I guess I have to go to the Star GG for that. That was the one. Yeah, that was the tournament where I remember Mewtwo King played like Triff beat Mewtwo King, and that was like a big upset. Like, yeah, Mewtwo King was like still active and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, well, that's hey, I mean, a lot of cool history kind of coming out here, and I think, it's interesting hearing about the tri-state region now, especially, with Nightclub and everyone doing so well from that kind of region, Slug, and you yourself, Chem. I think there's a lot of cool stuff coming out from that area now. We're probably going to get educated more and more on that, I think, over the years as more people from that time and everything start, glowing up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm okay with moving on. I do have another question or two I can ask Toph, but if you're ready to keep things moving, I am.
For sure. Yeah, we can get into the community voice. And yeah, I was just looking at Slug and Army both got 17th at that Genesis. That's crazy. Kind of a passing of the torch there.
Huh.
Yeah, let's get into the community voice from last week.
Oh, and I guess before we do that, I guess
Uh-huh.
I'm noticing we don't have anyone waiting in the wings yet for a question, so I would like to remind everyone in
That's
my
true.
chat and Toph's to use the ! Radio Melee command. Join the Discord, react with the GG React in the rules channel, and then the SSBM React in the Assign Roles channel. You can join with the Submit Topics Here channel, and then we can ask us anything live on air. 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, pretty much every Tuesday, my Twitch channel and Toph. So we really do encourage you guys to roll through. That being said, we're going to be looking at the voicemail in a moment. But first, we have our community voice from Ossify, who we had on last week.
That's
who
right.
Asked, what is your favorite Melee memory that is not a competitive related thing? So favorite non-competitive Melee memory. And we've
Okay,
got...
so yeah,
Go ahead.
this is Muck Manor. I'll read the first one. You can read the second one. So one time out, I was a Nebulous local, RIP. Project M, and I was playing Switch, my favorite PM player and greatest wolf player in the world. That's true. While we were playing, he was obviously destroying me. He started calming me, and then Gallo, who's another amazing New York City PM player, called out to him from across the room and asked him a question, apparently not aware that Switch and I were playing a tournament set. Switch mid-combo, took his eyes off the screen, turned his head, answered Gallo's question, then looked back at the screen and finished the combo to kill me without dropping any part of it, even while his head was fully turned away from the CRT. He's my goat. That's really funny.
That's so strong.
Yeah, that guy's awesome. Switch is really cool. So that's a good memory for sure.
Oh man,
Good story.
people looking away, man, especially like when there's so many influences of DI or whatever, you're just having to basically kind of predict what they're doing. I mean, it is very powerful, and I do like that there is so much skill expression to where you can kind of do that in a lot of these Smash games. And we got our second answer here from Madigan saying, I've never been to bigger tourneys and only been to a few locals. The one of the first I went to, I was at immediately. Pizza got delivered from the host. We each bought a share, and when he called, pizza was there. Not a person moved. Pretty much everyone got a slice. Just watching everyone focus on their friendlies and the one tournament match and unfazed by pizza, I knew I was with my people and felt like I belonged. Dude, when the pizza party doesn't get anyone moving, you know that something big's going on.
Yeah, people are locked in. People are gaming.
Oh man, it must have been some beautiful Melee.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this week we have a before we get into any sort of caller questions, I think we do have a voicemail question. Is that right?
We do. And our voicemail number will be on screen because I definitely don't remember it.
Yeah,
But
we
if
should
you
remind
guys...
people about
Yes.
the voicemail line.
We had a few. We might go to one of the others maybe if we need to, but our number is 213-347-5242. That number again is 213-347-5242. Maybe you're not able to join us live on air, and so if you'd like to just leave a question generally, or for our guests, we do tweet out what our guest is going to be usually the day before, so you can leave that. Feel free, the number is there. But that being said, we do have our voicemail question now. So let's go ahead and get to it.
Hey, this question comes from Drew and Bobbert from DJM. We got a question for the player, Chem, who's being talked to tonight. What does it feel like to be from New York, play in Philly, but be sponsored by New Jersey. Do you really feel like a perfect representation of what it means to be Tri-State? Thank you. I love all you guys. Take care.
Yeah, I
That's
thought
not
this was
the
I thought that's a really good question because you were talking about how you'd play slug and then you hadn't, and then you went to college there, and then Tri-State being this interesting group, this interesting collection of a region, and I think there was even some discussion on whether it still wants to be a region or whatever on Twitter a little bit ago. I saw that, so I'm curious, how you feel about being in all those, being supported in all those ways. How does that seem to you?
I think it's cool because I feel like it shows, and I think it's a little weird because Philly gets questioned whether or not it's Tri-State a lot. But I think it like shows the sense of like community we have. Because I'm friends with a lot of the people from Jersey, from Philly, from New York, and not I guess Connecticut. E Poodle I'm thinking of right now. I guess he goes to the tournaments there. But I'm like great friends with like a lot of players in every scene almost in Tri-State. So I think it's kind of fitting in some ways where I'm friends with a lot of them.
Yeah, and being sponsored by New Jersey particularly, do you feel you have ties to New Jersey before this, or are you just very New Jersey pilled now? How did that come about?
I mean, again, one of my good friends is like New Jersey, and I can mention like think of four of them really like that
Mm,
are really good friends with me. So I guess a little bit after, like I went to my first New Jersey tournament in a while, just recently, and it was run by my sponsors, Drew, Bobbert run it, Tamis, some great people who helped me go to events. But yeah, like I still have always felt like, Tri-State as a whole, like it doesn't really matter if I'm sponsored from New Jersey. It's funny because I don't know if do you know who Mott Money is by any chance?
yeah.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I've never spoken to Mod Money.
Say it again.
I don't know if I've ever spoken to Mod Money, but I certainly know of Mod Money.
Yeah.
So Mott is one of the friends I'm thinking of that's from Jersey, and he's actually sponsored by BLE, which is Brotherly Love Esports, which is in Philadelphia.
Ah, that's
And me and him
funny.
talk about it all the time, and we're like, "Yo, dude, you're sponsored by Philly, and I'm sponsored by like NJ. How does that happen?" And it's just funny because like I mean, we're all friends with each other. He's very good friends with the Philly people as I am, and I'm friends with a lot of New Jersey, and I'm friends with him too. And it doesn't surprise me in some ways, but it's
Yeah.
fun.
It almost feels like, this state distinction almost doesn't even matter because you guys are all just so close. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd say so. I can believe you.
That's cool. So in this discussion of is Tri-State a thing or who belongs, is that ever uncomfortable for you?
Um, it's interesting for Philly because I used to always be like, Philly's Tri-State, like, how is it not? Like, sometimes you go to Philly tournaments and like, or to nightclubs and that kind of thing. But I don't know. I remember there's a poll that existed that was like, is Philly Tri-State? And it was like mostly those.
Oh,
So I don't know, maybe not. But I mean, my heart is still in Philly, and even though I'm in Long Island right now, I live in New York. I might like Philly still is one of my homes too, unrelated to your question. But I think it's a little annoying. I think it should be, but it is what it is. You know.
I always, it's funny. Maybe this is just related to your sponsor or something. For some reason, for a long time, I thought you were New Jersey, but maybe I assume everyone from Tri-State and Smash is from New Jersey because New Jersey, there's just so many Smashers.
There are. I
I don't
completely agree.
know.
I mean, there's so many good players. I know.
Yeah,
I know I've been talking about other players, but like Mott, Wally, Che
yeah,
Flex, Arthur, 404 Chris. Sorry, so many,
right,
right?
right, right. Um, but from your perspective, what was the first scene you kind of played in? Like the first, like when you were first getting, like competitive at Melee. Like where were you located?
I'm gonna give you a funny answer before I like actually stay physically located.
Okay.
My origin, like real origin story, is online Anthers Ladder / East Coast
Mm.
Fridays in 2017 to 2018.
oh my.
Nice.
I didn't go to
What a
one
way to start
tournament.
too.
I know, yeah. And it's funny. I know you said you had Ospi recently. He actually was way better than me back then.
Hmm.
Uh, even though he's
Was he
younger.
also playing? Was he playing on those with you?
Yeah,
With
So he was
Falco?
East Coast Fridays. Yeah, he was a Falco main back then. He was better. I wasn't very good at Falco, to be honest, that matchup, but he was a good player. Him and Akir, I mean, you know Akir now too, but these guys
Yeah.
also.
Oh wow.
I almost had a similar thing with Slug, where I felt like, my God, I've never heard of these players, and they're so good.
Yeah.
But they eventually made a name for themselves, and they proved to me, well, not that they haven't already proved that they were good, but like, you know, I got to see them show how good they were, even if like I've never heard of them outside of like these small circles, like in Philly or in, you know, East Coast Fridays, and they really like showed how good they are. You know, it's interesting. But one more thing, I think before or after that, it was Long Island. But then I hadn't gone to many things, and then I went to Philly, and that's when I
Got
like
it.
really started going to tournaments.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But I guess at the end of the day, you know, if it's a bigger tournament, everyone's going to show up anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
The yeah, the other thing I was going to ask was the way that I think I missed one of them, or I forgot one of them. But it sounded like the call in was from two people. It said someone in Bobbert. Do you know who called in? Are they friends of yours or anything like that, or?
They are both my like help
Drew and Bobbert.
with my sponsors.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, they run
That's
events in, just so anyone who's watching from New Jersey, they're my sponsor is DJM. They run tournaments. If you're in the New Jersey area, you should definitely go to them. They're awesome people. You know, my sponsors in general, and they also run pretty good events. I think one's coming up soon. I do want to say something also, because I haven't gotten a way to say this, and I do want to say it.
Yeah.
One of my sponsors, I talked about how, like, you know, playing well and, you know, helping yourself play well by helping your outside factors like food or sleep. One of my sponsors helped me out. One of the people who helps run my sponsor, I don't know how to say it exactly, but Candace, I actually was like, I felt like I had a shaky set with Kevin Maples. And then my sponsor asked me like, "Hey, you need anything?" And I was like, I feel like I need some like sugar in me, and he helped me. He went to the convenience store and got me candy, which I think really helped me out a lot. And I don't know if it would have been possible to have the run I did without him, and, you know, my sponsors. So again, like, thank you to them. They've helped me go to tournaments for like the past few months now, and I hope it to be longer. You know, so shout out to them.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. Definitely like, yeah, I don't know. It's always cool to see like the varying levels of support that people have like on the ground at events. Because you know, it can really obviously differ. You know, like GG, we've been stepping it up. Like Big House, there was like a booth, which I thought was pretty dope. Like getting more involved at like IRL events and getting more of the gang out. So it's always dope when teams do that for their players.
Yeah, and I really, I mean, way back when I was on EG, I had a manager that was with me, helping me out. It was
AJ, right?
Yeah, I had AJ. Love that guy.
Yeah.
And it really does make an enormous difference to have someone that's there. You know, they're there to enjoy the experience, but they're there to support you, and I think that's just a wonderful thing. And I think, you know, that's something, and you to see organizations getting in that are able to help, not just in the financial sense, but in that human sense. You know, sometimes that can be just as valuable, if not more so. So I really love that.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. I think we have by the way, we've got somebody who wants to call in, so we can bring in our first caller for the week, and it's going to
Drew and
be
Bobbert for calling in.
That's true. Yeah, got a shot at Drew and Bobbert.
Hello.
And hello. Looks like we got Lev. What's up, Lev? Where are you calling in from? What do you got for us today?
Calling in from Michigan. Had a question for Chem about the secondaries. I'm a big fan of Chem's Samus, and I've seen it a few times.
Oh, damn, I didn't know about Chem
Samus. Someone, that was actually one of the voicemails. Someone named Hoborg called in and said, "Chem, what's up with Samus?" That was the whole voicemail. They didn't even like say anything else. So something's going on with you and Samus. I do want to get to the bottom of whatever this question is.
So, for people that know, apparently like Hoborg, there's Chem has been grinding out Samus a little bit. He's been in the Samus Discord, trying to learn as much as he can. And
you're really in the sauce.
I want to know if we're ever going to see your Samus take a nightclub. Are we going to see it at any majors? And just more generally, what do you think of the character? We had Morse Code take a win over Cody at Big House and J-Mook earlier in the year. And I want to know, are we entering a Samus renaissance, and will you be a part of it?
It's interesting. I think Samus has a lot of weaknesses, and it's pretty hard to be like consistent with that character. But in terms of like being capable of as a character to like take wins, I think Samus definitely is like she's not like the best, but she definitely has the tools. And me particularly, I wanna play her because I think she teaches me a lot about the things I'm not good at. Like she's very patient, and she takes different skill set where you're working with a projectile as your like main threat, right? So I play personally her because I want to like learn something new about like the game and stuff like that. I'm very much about new perspectives, and I think Samus is one of the characters that can definitely help me with that. I do want to get it good enough. I want to get a lot of my secondaries good actually. So Samus is no exception. But with Samus in particular at a nightclub, I've tried. It hasn't gone well, but hopefully soon I'll make it work. Go in.
You
That's
can
fine.
always use it for Aklo's Link if nothing else.
I think my
Oh,
Fox has
man.
that, but maybe for the fans.
How is Samus your? That's probably not right. What's your second best character? I was gonna say is it your Samus, but
No, I'm working on it because I do practice her. I not right now at this very second, but that's because I've had a lot of tournaments coming up.
yeah,
But Samus, or no, Falco is definitely my like secondary, as most Foxes have.
Yeah.
I haven't done too much with him, but I have gotten fifth at a nightclub beating like JoJo and like Freezes. I don't know if you know who those two are.
Yeah, for sure.
Which was my only tournament with Falco, so not bad. I actually might bring it back this weekend. Next weekend.
Oh, what's next weekend?
Next week. I just meant next week at the nightclub.
Oh, okay, at the nightclub. Got it.
Yeah.
Man, you've won a nightclub, by the way, have you?
Yeah, I've won many.
Very
Won
nice.
many.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've won like
Nice.
5, I think. I'm trying
Just
to go
not
for
with-
more. It's hard.
He's lost
but
count.
definitely
He's
not
won
with
too
Yeah.
many.
Just not
Aqua-
with Samus.
Like I don't know. My Falco might be able to do it. Not yet, obvious, but my Falco.
Yeah.
But practicing Samus is like it's really interesting because it's so unique. I want to understand her really bad. I mean, there's a lot of resources out there, and I've taken use of it. I don't know if of course Violence actually.
Yeah.
I've gone on a Discord and he's made me literally videos of like, all right,
He's so helpful.
Here's your gameplay.
Mhm.
This is what you got to do and stuff like that. So very helpful. I'm trying to learn her. Samus is a weird character, so I'll see how that works out.
Samus is super weird. Yeah, there's something about Samus that I think Samus is a character that turns heads. Like people get really excited because I think she's so different that when somebody who doesn't play the character like starts playing the character, it's like a big deal and people talk about it. You know what I mean? There was like that era where like PPU was playing a bunch of Samus and it was like, oh, that's crazy. Like PPU, that's not, and like man, whenever obviously Plup started with the character, but whenever Plup goes back to Samus, it's really exciting. I mean, I think it's fair to say that probably a lot of people like grew up watching Plup as a non-Samus main at this point, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, just in general, like I feel like that character is so weird and different in terms of kind of how they have to play neutral, and like you said, I guess having probably their biggest threat be like a projectile. It's like it's just she's got a weird dynamic to her, and I feel like I don't know. It's really I'm really excited to see what ends up happening with that character because I think Morse in particular has given the Samus population a lot of hope. With these kind of recent slew of like top 5 wins.
Yeah.
Because nobody. Yeah, I don't know. Like you had Super, and obviously Super was doing pretty good, but I feel like things were kind of quiet on the Samus front for a little bit. Like maybe between COVID up until kind of recent.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see.
Yeah, and I guess there's some things I could say about learning other characters and helping your game, but I'll just repeat the first part of the question back to you, Chem. Are we entering a Samus Renaissance? Don't disappoint the Samus mains now. Say yes.
I think there's potential that Samus will definitely start getting like wins a lot. I think it's a weird matchup for people, so that alone is good. And I don't think this character's bad, so I think answer potentially.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah. I think she might be better than like DK. But
Ooh.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're very different characters.
Yeah, it's hard.
They're like good at exactly the opposite
Yeah.
things.
Who do you think would win right now, your Samus or PP's DK?
Oh
Speaking
God.
of
I
secondary,
think you've got.
No.
You know what? We'll make that
not
happen one day.
DK.
Why not?
Did
I'm
we
kidding.
decide-
Maybe.
What do you think
I
about that
think you've got
matchup?
it.
That I
What do
feel
you
like DK is kind of like that matchup, the Samus one, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's tough, honestly. But I mean, missiles might be able to lock you down. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering. And also, DK probably can't combo Samus that hard compared to a
Yeah,
lot of
but
other
when
characters.
Samus gets put into the air, though, I feel like that's gotta suck because
Oh,
if
maybe
she
you
tries
just
to
get
come down
charged.
with she comes down with the move, it's a free up B, and then otherwise like up air is just gonna do a lot of damage. It's gonna be hard to come down with bombs.
Yeah.
So I think her recovery is gonna be okay, but I guess you can go out with up B. But if she goes pretty low, it's probably pretty good. So
Yeah,
I think
maybe you're
there are
right.
some spots that are definitely good for Samus, and I'm sure like if she can get DK and shield just like any other character in the game, she's probably cooking. But
hmm
it seems I could see why the DK's like it, just bro sciencing it off the top of my head.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that.
But yeah, surely, the Samus versus DK versus Ganondorf Renaissance will continue on unabated. But this was a fun question. I'm glad we got to get to the bottom of Chem's mystery Samus and all the benefits it had. And thank you for calling in, Lev. Any shout outs for us on your way out today?
yeah, thanks for having me. Shout out to Nightclub.
Mm.
It's great local. I'm not there anymore, but always good seeing everyone there. And shout out to all the Samus mains out there trying to make it happen.
For sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one. All right. Well, we don't have another caller locked and loaded right now, but good news for us. I still have a couple questions that I did write down in advance that I can still ask you. And so I'm going to go ahead and start with let's do this one. You play Fox. You also play Samus, but your main is Fox, and so Fox is a very common character. It's very he's I think probably still the most common in top 100, or and maybe in the top 30ish range where at least your current rank is. Well, I'm sure it'll probably go up given how you've been doing, but currently top 30. So in a crowded Fox field, how do you feel like you yourself stand out? Is standing out something you even care to think about at this point? Probably not, but maybe you did when you started. What do you think makes you unique, in other words?
That's a good question because this recent tournament actually made me really think about that. Not for like the greatest reasons. It's just a lot of people were a lot like the crowd was electric really at function, and it was like really crazy because I don't feel like I have exactly something that makes me stand out. I mean, I just try to play the best melee I think I can, and I think it exists. So I think I have some interesting things. Like I don't know if you've heard of the Chem jabs. No, it's uppy shine, but it's just like Armada used to do it. I didn't know about Armada used to do it, but like you just jab the side B. That's like the only
Okay.
thing I really got going. But I don't think I have anything unique. But it's cool that like even without that, like people are like really really like nice to me. A lot of them who were cheering were my friends, but even some people I don't know were like cheering. Like even Slug, because me and Slug we talked after the tournament, we went to the bar. It's like, dude, I'm not. He said to me, "Oh, dude, I'm not used to like people not cheering for me. I'm not gonna lie, because like that's just like he plays ices without wobbling, so he's just used to that, which is completely understandable. And
Mhm.
it beats me why people would ever be a Chem fan, but it's cool.
Sure. I mean, I think, when I was probably about the equivalent rank of what you are now when I was coming up, I don't think I could have answered the question either. So I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but it's an interesting question, right? Where, we're thinking about, these things that we can offer and finding, value in them. And so, I mean, we got the Chem jab, and I think, um, at least I was paying a special attention in your set with Kevin Maples because I think you guys play pretty differently. I was noticing, how he was focusing a little more on not trying to be so hard and fast with like the punishes, but really trying to play neutral in a lot of ways, trying to be real flexible, really, playing different stage positions, things like that. And I noticed that you were trying to play like a real, fundamental game, hold the stage, do a lot of the good stuff, mix the shield pressure when it's necessary, hit the good tech chases, a lot of that, and keeping the timing, keeping the pacing pretty fast. And so I think this is something that's going to evolve more, as you evolve more as a player. But it was kind of cool just to see some of that, that stylistic difference in that set. And so I think when we're thinking about the future, I think a question that I often like to ask our guests if I get a question is, what are your goals? You said before, no, we're not going to be results oriented. So sure, we don't have to think about what your rank's going to be or what tournament you want to win or not, or top 8 or not. But surely there are things that you're pushing for, right? You've got to be driven by something if you're going to still be playing. So what does Chem want for himself or for Melee or his Fox or Samus or whatever, right?
I really always just tell myself I want to play the best Melee I am capable of. For me, like personally, I think neutral is like my favorite part of Melee. I really like how it works. Like I think Melee is like honestly one of the most brilliant fighting games, and how neutral works out with so many aspects. Like even CC, like allowing the aerial game not to like overshadow. Where I know some games are having that issue right now. But I think my goal is just I want to play as brilliant neutral as I think is possible. Like that, I know it's like a specific part of the game, but it's just one that like really I love a lot. So I guess that's about it. I don't really think about anything else than that though.
Cool.
Do you think about neutral game a lot?
I definitely do. I mean I write stuff all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think I don't know if I have anything like unique about it, but like I just think it's so interesting because it's like it's a strategy. Melee's like a strategy game, and it's like Melee. There's certain aspects of the game that like there's right options, there's wrong options, but then there's also like if someone has like a really high percentage of an option, you still got to do like exploits in that kind of sense if it's like really obvious. And I think that stuff's really interesting. It's like poker in some sense, where it's like you need to have a balance, but like you might want to hedge on one side or the other, and it's honestly really brilliant and fun to play. Honestly, it's just fun to play. Yeah.
For sure. Is there something that you've learned recently for yourself that you found really interesting? And if not, is there something that you're working on right now that you find really interesting?
Oh God, that's a tough question. I can't think of anything exactly. I think looking at my gameplay, I see some flaws in how I do things where I talked to Crudo, another player, and we were just talking about it, and he said something like, you set up your spots pretty well, but then the way you play out the spot is like not perfect. And I think it is like something I resonate with, like how I feel the same way, where it's like sometimes I'm like, I like, do a proper like bait, or, it was is like well played, but then like my movement in like that very second isn't exactly where I didn't do the right sequence, where I'm not prepared to play the sequence out. So like playing, even after preparing the situation, like focusing right now on playing that spot that's like really close, maybe the quarters, or like I have to be very precise and focusing on that right now.
Well, hey, good luck to you. That's certainly an important part of growth. It all is really. I'm sure, sounds like you're really realizing that with, your experience with the function last weekend. Well, let's see. Is there anything else that you wish we would have covered, whether it's about function or anything else that we didn't get a chance to? Is there something you were dying to let us know or discuss that all these guys have been doing almost 100 episodes, they didn't think to ask you?
Okay, I have one question for you, PP.
For me? Oh boy.
Do you remember one time when we played on NetPlay a long time ago, and you said this random fox named Chem played you, and he was like, "Oh, this guy's definitely studied me." Do you remember that by any chance?
I don't remember saying I could believe I said that phrase. I could believe I said that phrase. I'm guessing the answer was no, you didn't.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think so. I think not. But it was funny because I don't know. I just I talked to Kadoran, but he's in streaming one time, and he was like, he said that quote, and I didn't know if like this was like something that people had heard before, but it was funny. I mean, I completely understand your perspective, where it's like this guy might have been doing things that maybe pertain to you more, and like it's not unbelievable to think that, but I think it's just really funny. think about.
Yeah, I mean, there are there's the typical meta options, and sometimes there are specific counters that people might not necessarily be doing, or they might not catch on as quickly. So I guess maybe you had just done a bunch of them quickly, and so I was like, oh, okay, I guess I thought it was unlikely, but I mean, I also remember playing you multiple times, and I remember you would get better rapidly in between the times we would play, and I was like, and so now I'm not surprised that you've taken all the names that you have and everything, and so it's kind of funny that I probably said that one of the first times we played, but I know that we matched up, past that, and it was very clear that you were just making growth, and I don't believe I continued to think that, even if I even if I did the first time. So apologies for putting any of that on
Okay.
you.
It was just really funny because it's become like almost a joke between some friends where it's
Sure.
it's just funny, I obviously I
Well,
don't
you didn't study me for the interview, right? You didn't know what I was going to ask, did you?
I did not, and I'm happy the questions you asked, and I'm happy
Oh, awesome,
to be
wonderful.
here.
At least I held up my end there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think now that we've aired out everything we need to air out, there's only one thing left we could possibly ask for you, Chem, and that is the community voice, the question that only you can ask to the YouTube audience. Do you have something prepared? Do we need to stall? What's it gonna be?
All right. I guess I'll ask. What was like a moment in your playing of Melee that made you decide I want to get better at this game? Whether it's like friends or like a moment in the game itself that like you saw and you're like, wow, that was brilliant or whatever it is. What makes you want to play Melee? What made you
Mhm.
decide to get better at it?
Was there a moment like that for you? Is that where this question comes from? There was something like that for you?
I don't know if exactly, but I think there's one interesting thing. I don't know if you know who Darktooth is by any chance.
Darktooth, yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
haven't
been a
heard
while
of.
since I've heard that name, but yeah.
Yeah. So
I
I
remember he
actually
entered something online like a year or two ago, and I remember he did really good, and kind of went back into whatever he was doing before that. But yeah, he's amazing.
So I am from the same region, and also I
Mhm.
found out, a year in that I actually went to the same high school as him, and he had already
Oh.
graduated. And he
Oh
came to
wow.
visit my high school, and we played one time. And I barely like I didn't know this until I knew he was the best player in Long Island, but I didn't know he played. He was in my high school, and he actually is the person who brought Melee to my scene, and that inspired me. Like, wow, like I got to play with this
Hmm.
really, really good player, and he apparently went to my high school, and I'm like, that's so cool. I want to get better. I guess that's mine.
Wow. Yeah.
Huh.
Damn, he was. Yeah. Damn. So he was the best player in Long Island for a time then, huh?
Yeah, he definitely was
Hmm.
for like
He was
probably
like better than Cody.
okay. I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember Cody ever really being Long Island in my like head, but I assume he was.
Okay.
I don't think he went to like locals, but maybe he did. I'm sorry if that's not true.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. He
Wow.
had K on to compete with. I think that's one.
Mhm.
Okay, on.
Mhm. 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 Speaking of
But it's
new
all
cool
good.
game, that's fair to say, right? I mean,
That was
No,
a
yeah,
fun. I mean, he was from. We imported him from. We exported him from North Carolina. I think he might have originally been from New
oh,
York, but either way we sent him over to you guys, and he had a lot of fun up there. It was what I
yeah.
saw.
uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
I think he was
Yeah.
from. He went to college there, and I think he
It
came.
might
So
have
it's
been
like almost
college.
a similar thing where it's like you almost become a different player because of your origin, right? I know he was North Carolina or one of
Yeah,
the.
we were really claiming him. I think because he was originally, I think he was a Falco player or something, and then he ended up switching to Fox while he was here and really liking that. And then he became very patient, and then he decided to go home back to New York. And you guys just had all sorts of fun with the Duke on. Boy, made memories. I remember that.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. I love him.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Um, But yeah, thank you so much for giving us that question and sharing your time with us today, Cam. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
thank
That's
you
awesome.
as well, Toph, for joining us and always bringing the interesting discussion, bringing the ideas, bringing the energy. Love that. And thank you everyone out there for calling in, listening, and watching. We will be back next week. But for now, this is Radio Melee signing out.